No. David, Gaudavani, Vikarne, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So can someone just remind us of where we're at, basically? Who is being glorified at the present moment?
Prahlāda is being glorified by Narada Muni.
Correct. Yep, it's Prahlāda. We had some wonderful glorifications of Prahlāda and Narada Muni, and I had a little peek at the end of last week's class. So the next person, I think, is Hanuman. Prahlāda's going to direct Narada Muni to Hanuman in a couple of verses that will come. So let's begin reading. Chandra, is your hand up?
I put the hand first.
Was that a question? Your voice is a bit low, Mother. Can you hear us, Mother Chandra?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can't
okay,
hear
we can hear you. Yeah. I can hear you now. It's fine.
Okay, maybe I went a bit too far. Does anybody else wants to read? They can read. I don't mind.
Go ahead. Your hand's up there.
Okay. Text number 19. Merely from these symptoms, the best of saints do not conclude that Krishna has given a person his mercy. Krishna's mercy, blessed Narad, appears only in a truly worthy servant. Commentary. The most advanced saints are pure Vaishnavas who understand the power of devotional service to Shri Krishna's lotus feet. I could not have received Krishna's special mercy, Prahlāda says, because he gives that only to a devotee who deserves it. You, Narad, are blessed by the Lord's internal potency. You have received his mercy, so you know very well that only a proper candidate can obtain it. The Lord's mercy is infinite, beyond the limits of time and space. But in the material world, it becomes visible only at certain times in certain suitable devotees. Text 20.
So, yeah, Prahlāda is kind of indicating that, okay, the Lord Nrsimhadev appeared to him, but then he went. He came and he went. He came and he gave his blessings to Prahlāda, and then he went. I think he's kind of indicating that. Yeah, according to special, yeah. Here, let's read on text 20.
Well, I don't mind having that.
Sorry?
I say I don't mind having that come and go. At least one little darshan would completely purify you. Just one little darshan will really purify you. So
for sure, definitely, that's what we aspire for.
Yes,
and that was the blessings that the Lord gave Prahlāda, but now Prahlāda Mahārāja is reflecting on a different type of mercy, where one is always in the association with the Lord.
Yeah.
Which is, this brings us to Hanuman.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, like couple of like Dhruv and that, Lord just puts his hand on their heads, and any traces of anything left, it just disappears. So I just always meditate on that.
Yeah.
All the junk that I have, just that little finger touch would be perfect.
Yeah, that's a nice meditation, and that is a fact, actually, that Krishna can remove all our impurities very quickly, within a second. That's his grace and that's his mercy.
But only Prahlāda got that. Nrsimhadev put his head on Prahlāda's head only. Even Dhruv, he had the Cont touching his head. None of other devotees have got the Lord's hand on their heads.
Yeah, that's a nice contrast. Yeah, okay. So he got more mercy because he didn't bang him on the head with a conch. He put his hand on his head with blessings. And he put him on his lap and he was licking his head as well, wasn't it? In the form of a lion.
Yes.
That was very sweet. Yeah. So yeah, Prahlāda is definitely an exalted devotee. But he's, as all devotees see themselves as being insignificant, as being not worthy of praise and of not receiving the Lord's full mercy. Yeah, that's the intriguing nature of pure devotion, accompanied by humility. Devotees are so great, but they think they're so insignificant. And this is Prahlāda. He feels he's insignificant. Yeah. So you can read on, Mother.
Text 20. I have never performed any real service for the Lord like Hanuman and others. I have only remembered the Lord sometimes when my mind was troubled. Commentary. But you are a devotee of Lord Vishnu, Narada might interject. And so you do deserve his mercy. Prahlāda replied by contrasting himself with others, like Hanuman, who serves the Lord actively. Even now, Prahlāda says, I am only practicing meditation. I have not yet become proficient, even as a passive meditator. Narada might argue in return that fixing one's mind on the Lord is one of the 9 methods of pure devotional service. Remembering the Lord's names, forms, and pastime is on the highest level of self-realization in Bhakti Yoga. Because seva means devotional service, Prahlāda should not use this word to deny that he has ever served the Lord. Prahlāda answered. Prahlāda answered this by characterizing himself as disturbed by material anxieties, a condition that automatically disqualifies him from Nam Smarana, Rupa Smarana, and Lila Smarana. A further argument is also implicit here, that remembrance is not the best form of devotional service, since it depends on the functions of the mind, which are subject to distraction by anxiety and other emotions. This argument will be elaborated more fully later on in the glories of Goloka.
Okay, you can see what's being explained here. Prahlāda is denigrating himself for, when you think about it, he has a point. He's meditating upon the Lord. So you could say like the yogis, but he's not a yogi of the impersonal school or a Gani, he is a bhakta. But there's no actual service. So that's the point now, interesting point that Prahlāda brings up. But then in the commentary, that's nullified. I think it's by Gopi Pranadana here.
Yeah.
How is it nullified?
I can understand, like, meditation on Krishna. When the mind is, like where he's saying, mind is in anxiety or emotions, or you're dealing with other things, you tend to forget Krishna. I mean, not Prahlāda, but I mean, just saying, like, from that point.
Yeah. Yeah, go on. Someone else, is it?
Well, remembering, it says, remembering the Lord's name, forms and pastime is one of the highest level of self-realization. That's smaranam. Smaranam is one of the 9 legs of the Bhakti Yoga.
Correct. And that's what Gopi Pranadana is pointing out. Prahlāda is mistaken because that meditation happens to be one of the 9 angas of pure devotion. Yeah. Swaram Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Yeah. Smaranam, actually. Yeah. And then Prahlāda is characterized himself at the bottom here, being disturbed by material anxieties. But actually, if he was, then he couldn't do Nam Smaran. Yeah. He couldn't do uninterrupted Nam Smaran and Rupa Smaran, Lord's qualities and his pastimes. But that is Prahlāda's meditation. Yeah. So apparently we're going to hear more about this later in the glories of Goloka. Yeah. Right? So,
Text 20.
okay. Yeah.
You praised me because he caressed me and showed other signs of affection, but some consider such affectionate behavior merely a false show of Maya, and others just a display of his pastimes. Commentary. The Advaitavadis of the Sankaracharya school judge the loving dealings of the Supreme Person with his devotees to be illusory. The Advaitavadis hold that the Supreme Absolute Truth cannot become involved in such duality, but others, like the Vaishnavas of the devotional school, affirm that these are the Lord's pastime. Far from being illusionary, they constitute the highest spiritual reality. The personality of Godhead is full in all transcendental qualities of Sat-Chit Anand, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And with the help of his Sat-Chit Anand potencies, he can easily engage in Sat-Chit Anand pastimes. Here Sri Prahlada's idea is that even though the Lord's display of affection may be considered real, he has acted in these ways only to fulfill the purpose of his own enjoyment. Prahlada thinks that Lord Nrsimha only pretended to care about him.
Okay, so I'm sure Lord Nrsimhadev has a different opinion.
Yes, definitely.
That's what he thinks. That's what he's saying. Yeah.
Text 22. You regard those affectionate display as natural symptoms of his love, but I consider them no more real than a dream. And even if we accept them as real, they are still not evidence of his mercy. Commentary. In the opinion of Narada, an expert authority on the glories of the personality of Godhead, Lord Nrsimha's display of affection toward Prahlada arose from the Lord's intrinsic compassion. One might argue that this does not mean that the Lord had any special feeling for Prahlada, since he bestowed his mercy indiscriminately on everyone. Just as a fire relieves everyone near it from feeling cold, but still Narad may counter the Lord showered his favor toward Prahlada. Prahlada replies that he considers the Lord's mercy on him to be like a dream. In other words, it is as good as unreal. The Mayavadis say that the Supreme Person's merciful dealings are illusory products of Maya. But Prahlada here says instead that the Lord's mercy on him was unreal in the sense of being short-lived, just like a dream. Again, Prahlada might be asked why he considered dream like a display of affection, which is famous throughout the world, which many demigods, sages, and other reputable persons witnessed, and which he himself vividly experienced, taking into account that Prahlada's spiritual understanding was already fully awakened in his boyhood years. His saintly behavior and other exalted qualities are obvious symptoms of the Lord's great favor on him. Why should he try to hide that fact? Prahlada can only answer that, yes, the Lord's show of affection was real, but still it was not evident of the Lord's mercy, particularly on him. Prahlada completes this argument in the next verse.
Okay, perhaps to have someone sweet. Thank you, Mocha. Perhaps my sure you'd like to pick up from here, text 23.
Text 23. The Lord truly gives his mercy. Saintly authorities believe when he grants the right to render various kinds of service, a blessing he gives to such devotees as Hanuman. Nothing else counts as his mercy. Commentary. Small displays of affection are not proof of the personality of Godhead's favor. Prahlada says, but when a devotee becomes mature and has realized his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, the Lord gives opportunities to serve him. There are numerous examples of favored devotees among them Lord Ramchandra's monkey devotee like Hanuman and Sugriva, and Lord Krishna's Yadu associates like Pandavas. Thus, Prahlad tries to deny the validity of Nara's glorifying him as a recipient of the Supreme Lord's special mercy. He especially tries to deny the relevance of what Narad has described in text 17. Lord Nrsimha's having placed Prahlad on his lap and cuddled him as mother cuddles her child. Text 24. Furthermore, Sriman Nrsimha performed his pastimes not to favor me, but to protect the demigods, his devotees, and deliver two of his eternal servants. Text 25. He also wished to uphold the truth of the words of Brahma and of others, such as Brahma's sons, and fully display the greatness of devotional service. These were the only reasons for his pastimes. Commentary. The personality of Godhead assumed his amazing half-lion, half-man form to save Prahlad from Hiranyakashipu, the most terrible opponent of Lord Vishnu's devotional service. Isn't this evidence enough that he favored Prahlad? No, Prahlad replies. Supreme Lord's appearance as Nrsimha and his disposing of Hiranyakashipu serves other purposes. The Lord enacted this pastime to protect Indra and other demigods who are his faithful devotees. He also descended in this form to free his two Vaikuntha associates, Jai and Vijay, from the curse of Sanak and his brothers. In addition, the Lord felt obliged to fulfill the words of several of his devotees. Brahma had predicted the Supreme Lord's appearance as Nrsimha. Brahma's sons, the four Kumaras, had predicted the Lord's killing of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu himself, who is an incarnation of Lord Narayan's doorkeeper, Jai, had also made statements that the Lord had to make true, and Narad and Prahlad's predictions also needed to be realized. A detailed description of how Lord Nrsimha had to fulfill the words of his various devotees is found in Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 7:8-17, a verse beginning with Satyam Vibhaktim Nija Bhratya Bhasittam, to make true what was spoken by his servants. When Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad whether his Lord Vishnu was also present in the pillar of the palace, Prahlad answered, yes, of course, he is present everywhere. Lord Nrsimha emerged from the pillar to fulfill this statement of Prahlad's and Prahlad's previous statement, Bhagavatam 7:6-20, that the Lord is also present in variety of material creations and in the material elements. Bhuteshu atha mahatsu cha. The personality of Godhead burst forth from the pillar in the terrifying form of Nrsimha to dispatch Hiranyakashipu quickly and thus fulfill the request of the four Kumaras that Jai and Vijay be reinstated in their position in Vaikuntha after only 3 births in the material world. Lord Nrsimha's form, neither human nor animal, was like nothing ever seen before in Brahma's creation, and he appeared at the doorway of Hiranyakashipu's court. This unprecedented appearance fulfilled Hiranyakashipu's choice of the benedictions from Brahma. Bhagavatam 7:3-35-36. Bhutebhyas tvad vrishtebhyo mrutyurma buhan mama prabho. O my Lord, please let me not meet death from any of the living entities created by you. Nantar bahiha, either indoors or outdoors, and nantar na mugairapi, from either men or beasts. Brahma had answered this request. So be it. Hiranyakashipu later said, I can see that this boy's strength is unlimited, for he is not feared any of my punishments. He appeared immortal. Therefore, because of my enmity towards him, I shall die, or maybe this will not take place. Bhagavatam 7:5-47. And when Indra had wanted to kill the unborn Prahlad in the womb of Hiranyakashipu's wife, Narad had warned him, the child within this woman's womb is faultless and sinless. Indeed, he is a great devotee, a powerful servant of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you will not be able to kill him. Bhagavatam 7:10. All these words had to be fulfilled by the Lord, and as implied by the word cha. And in this verse, spoken by Prahlad, text 25, the personality of Godhead also had to fulfill his own words from the Bhagavad Gita. Kaunteya pratijanahi name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotees never perishes. And 12:7, Tesham aham samudharta mrityu sansara sagarat. I quickly deliver my devotees from the ocean of birth and death. Therefore, Prahlad concludes, what Lord Nrsimha did during his short appearance does not prove that Prahlad is the Lord's favorite devotee, even though the Lord made a show of neglecting Brahma and other demigods by showering affection on the Prahlad alone. That display should not be taken to indicate that Lord's true feelings. Otherwise, as Prahlad's logic goes, one could infer that the Supreme Lord has no affection either for his Vaikuntha associates like Garud or for the goddess of fortune, whom he also neglected on that occasion. Lord Nrsimha only wanted to draw attention to the greatness of the pure devotional service by showing that even a demon like Prahlad can earn the Lord's reciprocation by steadfastly meditating on his mercy in the face of all the dangers. This argument is Prahlad's answer to Narad's statement in text 7 and 8 that Lord Nrsimha has showered special affection on Prahlad while ignoring Brahma, Shiva, and other demigods, offering prayers, and even ignoring the goddess Padma.
Okay, quite a long purport. That's one of the longest. Any reflections on that? Or quite detailed to follow it, the logic that's being used by Prahlad. Can anyone perhaps give a little summary?
Well, Nrsimhadev appeared for a multi-purpose. It wasn't simply Prahlad. He was fulfilling Brahma's promise, Hiranyakashipu's desire, the 4 Kumaras. He had a multi-purpose appearance, but it was a very short one. It doesn't say how short, but it was quite short, it says. Just for a little while.
Yeah, thank you, Mo. That's nicely summarized. Yeah. So the Lord has many purposes to serve. As you know, when he appears himself as Krishna, he's serving many purposes. But what's the main purpose that he serves when he comes? You know, we have Yadai Dhamma Shaklani Bhakti Bharata Bodhanam Dhammasya Taratmajam Shitami Pritna Sadmam Vinashyata Diskatam Dham Samsapanataya Sambhavami Yugave. The Lord comes whenever there is a rise of irreligion. And he comes to establish Dharma. But that's not the main reason he comes. He has many purposes, but his main reason, anyone can say what his main reason to come?
Well, he has devotees.
Devotees, someone said devotees, yeah?
Yes, please, the devotees.
Devotees, yeah.
That's his main reason for coming. But incidentally, he serves many other purposes, just like Lord Chaitanya. He came for internal and external reasons. So interesting argument that Prahlad is giving. Now I was reflecting, this kind of logic and this kind of very sweet exchange. And sometimes we hopefully might experience this in the temple. Sometimes I get that as Pujari. You might get that if you're the pujari department, or you're cooking, or you're dressing the Lord, people think that you've got special mercy. In one sense, externally, we may say that, but for ourselves, personally, we may not feel like that, you know. So who we could say in a community who has them, if we look at different services that are being done, can we judge who's got it? There's it, if you're temple president, that means you're going to get the most mercy.
No,
Perhaps not.
that's not right. That's not true.
Yeah. Someone who's, you know, people come from, you know, sure, because you're all pujaris, so you probably had this experience. People, especially the Indian, you know, Indian people, they kind of treat you with a sense of awe and reverence, you know, because you're the pujari, you know? So they see you got the special mercy of Krishna. But at least from my perspective, I can perhaps come following the logic of Prahlāda. So, oh, you're so fortunate you can dress Radha Krishna, you know, you get to dress the Lord. So I might, Navadvip would often come back at that when he was praised for his service to Jagannath. He would come back with saying, that's because I'm the lowest of the low. I'm the most.
Is that Muli Prabhu? Sorry.
Navadvip, you know, colored Navadvip.
Oh yeah, yes, Navadvip. Yeah.
And just like a dog cannot be let loose, it has to be kept close like a wild dog. Navadvip speaks like that. Lord's keeping me very close, you know. So I kind of follow that.
Go.
Yeah, so you know, I cannot be trusted. Sometimes some people look towards the brahmacharis as being very fortunate. Yeah, you're so fortunate. Whatever. Well, no, because I can't be trusted in the material world, in the material energy. Therefore, Krishna's not giving me, you know, he's not going to let me attempt anything in the material world because I know I'll be a complete failure. So I'm just highlighting how we can transpose this conversation and we can perhaps speak like this amongst ourselves in our communities, different devotees of being, who's got the most mercy. Yeah. Yeah, so I was thinking of that as I was reading.
I was thinking the same thing, how Prahlāda is so positively giving it out, like it's not mercy that he's got, you know, it's not like he's not feeling it. Whereas we would, if we get some, oh, you're so fortunate, you'll be thinking, yeah, I am really fortunate, you know, like that.
Yeah.
Like,
you have, sometimes we get quite familiar. But what we're doing actually, you're serving, like you're making garlands and cooking for the Lord, dressing the Lord. It's special. It is. There's definitely been given grace and mercy to actually have that service. But from the subjective point of view, devotees are always kind of self-reflective in this mood of Prahlāda. Actually, I've not got much mercy, you know, because we always want more mercy. So, you know, nice discussion. This we had Bhagavatamrita. This is the first part, remember. So there's a second part that's going to come, and that's the story of Gopal Kumar. He's going to travel to different spheres and planets, you know.
So yeah. First paragraph, I was thinking that whenever you are praised for something, you have to think this paragraph and change your thoughts completely straight away. It was something to learn, you know. Yeah,
that's something which, that
really got
and
me.
Devotees,
yes.
Yeah, and devotees are quite good at that, isn't it? Because devotees the exchange of devotees and association devotees is very sweet. Even just young devotees, it doesn't take long before they're praising each other. They've only been around like a couple of weeks in the ashram, or 3 or 4 weeks, and they soon pick up that sweet way of exchanging, you know. Exchanging that, you know. I remember when I first joined the temple. I remember I was coming up the stairs with my belongings, and I bought a toothbrush, a couple of pairs of trousers, and a couple of pairs of t-shirts, and I had a small bag, and I had come. And one devotee showed me up the stairs was praising me. Wow, you're so renounced, you know. But I didn't know the stuff I had at home. Actually, I'd given a lot of it away, but still. And it's the first time, actually, that I've experienced someone heartfelt praising me as such, because in material association, at least the subculture that I was in, that wasn't the general exchange, you know. And if it was, there was some motive behind it. You understand? Some of you might have experienced that, but at least from where I was coming from, it was like, wow, this is a different type of exchange with a human being I haven't really experienced much of before. You know? So yeah, but then we kind of, yeah, because people will come, especially there's a stage of steadiness, it's called Prangarangini, where one is said, where one's become a bit steady in their devotional service, then people start to offer them gifts, offer them praise. So Prangarangini means if one starts to delight in that, one starts to identify and delight in that, then that could be a trap, that could be an obstacle. Delighting in the waves of appreciation that come from achieving some level of steadiness, you know. So we can learn from Prahlāda. He is diffusing and redirecting all the praise that Narada has given him, you know? And Hanuman will do the same. And it go on like that. Yeah. Anything on that? Or if you can read on, perhaps. We have Lamangalataka, you can read on. That's quite a long purport from Mother for sure read. So good to read here. Those who want to read, to give everyone a chance. So text 26, I think.
26, okay. O greatest of devotees who have nothing material to possess, when the personality of Godhead gave me a kingdom, I understood that I had not received even one atom of his mercy. Commentary. Self-realized sages are called Paramahamsas when they have given up all material ambitions. But the greatest Paramahamsas are those who have also abandoned the desire for liberation and the sense of being self-satisfied in impersonal realization. Narada is the best of such Vaishnava Paramahamsas. Prahlāda addresses him like this to imply that Narada should certainly understand the fallen condition of one who becomes entangled in political responsibilities. Thus Prahlāda asserts, Lord Nrsimha hardly blessed me with his favor. By giving me my father's kingdom, he actually punished me severely. Text 27.
Yeah, that was also Dhruva's conclusion as well. That was Dhruva's conclusion. There's a chapter, so I forget the exact title, but it's Dhruva's lamentation. And this was after he had been blessed by the Lord. It's called Dhruva's, and he laments for being given rulership over a vast empire. And it can continue.
So, I mean, why does that happen? Like devotees, when they get blessed by the Lord, they can consider it as not a blessing and still be elevated. Whereas if Krishna blesses me with something and I don't see it as a blessing, I see it not as a blessing, it usually disappears very quickly and it's seen as, you know, like, I feel like that would be ungrateful if it was me. But with these devotees, if they feel blessed, consider it not a blessing, it's a sign of their greatness. So it gets very complicated to understand the reactions of devotees to Krishna's mercy.
Yeah, interesting you bring up that. It could be, in one sense, you could, hearing what Prahlāda's saying, and you mentioned Dhruva, that you could use the word, are they being ungrateful? But if we kind of, let's look at the Dhruva Maharaj. See, he approached the Lord with a desire for a kingdom, for an empire. And then the pastime is that he got darshan of the Lord. And to the extent that all his material aspirations and material desires were extinguished, and he had the perception and appreciation of pure, unadulterated devotion. So he saw that as the best. There's that verse, isn't it, describes that I was searching for glass and I found the diamond. Yeah. So that was his conclusion. So, but the Lord still fulfilled his ex-material desires. So, but he didn't lose his, he wouldn't, in that position of rulership over the universe, forget Krishna, forget Vishnu. But upon reflection, he would see it in his humility as just a distraction. So he's not exactly being ungrateful. It's just he's speaking from a platform of realization of pure devotion. I don't know if I'm making sense on this. And then as does Dhruva and Prahlāda, similarly, in a similar way, he's received great mercy of the Lord. As we see, he's had his personal association of the Lord. But actually, in his humility, he's looking towards others as having received greater mercy. But he's not exactly, well, interesting you bring up the word ungrateful, because you could easily use that word. We don't understand, as you said, it's quite deep. But
I think,
not being
I just thought there that actually in the presence of the Lord, when they understand how great he is, it totally minimizes the blessing. Like in Dhruva's case, he realized actually this is like so small that, Krishna is so great that this is not his favor because he's so great, yet I only got like this tiny thing. So he hasn't actually his favor.
Yeah, that's a good way to understand it. And this is the theme of this. It's like greater sources of mercy and intimacy with Krishna is gradually revealed to these different devotees. Yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of understand it. We look at it objectively. Devotees reflect upon the mercy objectively. You know the difference between subjectively means in relation to itself, but objectively, actually, if you think about it, if you think about this devotee and that devotee, so like in comparison to me, I've been given very little dose of mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, text 27. As the Lord says, when I wish to favor someone, I make him lose his opulence. Such statements as this are evidence, and so also are the statements of his exalted devotees. Commentary. In the first half of this verse, Prahlāda cites Srimad Bhagavatam 10:27-16, where Shri Krishna advises the repentant Indra. Shri Krishna has made the same point in other contexts, as in his comment to Yudhishthira Maharaj, Bhagavatam 10:88. Yasyaham anugurnami harisye tad dhanam sanai. If I actually favor someone, I gradually make him lose all his wealth. The same point is also made by devotees as like Sudama Brahmana and Vitrasura. In the words of Sudama, to a devotee who lacks spiritual insight, the Supreme Lord will not grant the wonderful opulences of this world, kingly power and material assets. Indeed, in his infinite wisdom, the unborn Lord well knows how the intoxication of pride can cause the downfall of the wealthy. Bhagavatam 10:81-37. And as stated by Vitra, persons who fully surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead always think of his lotus feet, are accepted and recognized by the Lord as his own personal assistants or servants. The Lord never bestows upon such servants the brilliant opulences of the upper, lower, or middle planetary systems of this material world. When one possesses material opulence in any of these three divisions of the universe, his possessions naturally increases enmity, anxiety, mental agitation, pride, and belligerence. Thus one goes through much endeavor to increase and maintain his possessions, and he suffers great unhappiness when he loses them. Bhagavatam 6:11-22.
Yeah, this is quite a good point, isn't it? I think it's a very strong point from Prahlāda.
Yeah.
These evidences that this is probably, I think we're probably quite familiar with this here. Yashahamunugrahami Hari Chasvitanam Shanai. Prabhupada in his humility would quote this because he lived in a family, had a business, and then he lost everything. Yeah. So it's quite a strong case, I think, Prahlad's making here. And here's some evidences from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. Also, it should be understood that this doesn't, as a rule, here, what I'm highlighting here, Yashama Anugarnami, that doesn't happen to every devotee. That's the Lord's extra special mercy. So don't get worried. Sometimes people are afraid to worship Krishna for this sense of Hari, he takes everything away. I mean, everything will be taken away at the time of death. But this is special circumstances that the Lord may make one completely destitute, not even a home. That's really extraordinary circumstances. Right? Anyway, any comments on that? We'll just continue reading. 28. Okay, go on here.
Text 28. See how my worship of the Lord has been eclipsed by my attachment to ruling my kingdom and by my ties to family members, servants, and others. For not crying over this in remorse, I should be condemned again and again. Commentary. Narada might suggest that material facilities are dangerous from immature devotees, whereas those who are fully self-realized need not fear becoming distracted from their worship of the Lord. Sudama Brahmana had talked about neophyte devotees who lack spiritual insight, Bhagavatam 1081-37, and whom the personality of Godhead has to protect from the danger of too much material opulence. But Prahlāda is a fully self-realized devotee with mature insight into the true value of the Supreme Lord's devotional service. Mere sense gratification and political power are not going to distract him. As Lord Krishna told King Muchukunda, Na dir ekanta bhaktanam asibir vidyate vajit. The intelligence of my unallied devotees is never diverted by material blessings. Bhagavatam 10:51-59. He similarly said to Uddhava, Praya prayal bayat bhaktya vasyar nabi bhuyate. One who has unflinching devotion for me will never be defeated by sense gratification. Bhagavatam 11:14-18. Prahlāda replies here that he has been distracted and deviated from pure devotion, a fact that proves that he never actually received the full mercy of the Supreme Lord. According to Prahlāda's lament, his concentrated meditation on being protected by the Lord has now become completely eclipsed. He carefully says eclipsed rather than destroyed because he knows very well that Bhagavad Bhakti is purely spiritual. It is eternal and can never be destroyed, only temporarily covered by material contamination of the soul's consciousness.
Okay.
Text 29. Why else would I have fought against the renowned Lord at Vishala as if I had reverted to the low conditioning of my birth? Commentary. In this verse, Prahlāda resorts to the kind of logic technically known as Anyata Anupappati, or negative hypothesis. This form of logic works as follows. Devadatta is fat, but we do not see him eating during the day. Therefore, he must be eating at night when everyone else is asleep. We cannot explain his fatness without presuming his eating at night. Similarly, Prahlāda argues here that there is no way to explain his fighting against Lord Narayana, but to accept that his devotion to the Lord has become eclipsed. The dual incarnation of the personality of Godhead in the forms known as Narayana appeared in order to teach how to perform devotional austerity. They reside in the Himalayas at the place variously called Visala and Badarika. The first and fourth cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam discuss this incarnation. In the fourth incarnation, the Lord became Nara and Narayana, the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma. Thus he undertook severe and exemplary penances to control the senses. Bhagavatam 139. Thus the demigods worshipped with prayers the Supreme Personality of Godhead appearing as a sage Nara and Narayana. The Lord glanced upon them with mercy and then departed for Gandamadana Hill, Bhagavatam 4158. Prahlāda refers to the conditioning of my birth is being a descendant of demons, the natural enemies of Lord Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, was too distasteful for him to mention directly. Even more unmentionable was his being the son of one of the staunchest haters of Vishnu.
I was thinking, Prahlāda is really going on, isn't he? He's really,
Yeah.
really going down in deflecting any praise. He's continuing.
Text 3.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms.
Yeah, does anyone? Okay. The demons in their teachings are always inclined to bad scholarship about the truth of the self. Because of my association with such demons, even today my understanding is not free from the degraded element of dry speculation. Commentary. Prahlāda insists that even before he felt into materialistic sense gratification by becoming king, he had never been completely free from demonic qualities. In particular, he was expert, like other demons, in expounding impersonal theories about the eternal soul. Such theories, full of bad scholarship, try to establish the perfection of life in an impersonal knowledge without devotion to the Supreme. Prahlāda thinks that by living with the Daityas and imbibing their attitudes, he became infected with this taste for impersonal speculation. This taste is adana, base and contemptible, because it subverts the ecstatic personal exchanges of bhakti ras. I just wanted to say there, Prahlāda was like, I thought he was born a pure devotee. He was preaching to his schoolmates and converting them. And he was very fixed in his devotional service. But yes, it says here, he thought he was contaminated by impersonal.
Yeah, you should not listen to him. He's not being true. It's just this divine humility, which is seeing himself like that. But we shouldn't believe him. He is.
I know, but I mean, why shouldn't we believe it? Because he's saying.
So you could say this to him, like if you was Narada, you would say this to him. But wait a minute, you took birth. I preached to you. In the womb, you've been self-realized, and you didn't. And all through that time, talking to your father, you was just meditating upon me. So yeah, so you could say that to him. You could give that response. So sorry, Prahlāda, but we don't believe what you're saying. You're an exalted, great devotee. But this is the devotee's humility. I was thinking it reminds me of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think when Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they're falling down at the Lord's lotus feet with a straw in their mouth, and they're begging him, or they're making statements of their complete worthlessness. And
Prahlāda says he was expert in expounding impersonal theories about the eternal soul.
Just on this point that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells them to stop because it's breaking his heart. It's that his humility is actually breaking his heart. But actually, this is, Prahlāda wasn't expounding impersonal theories.
No.
But he just sees himself, because he was born in a family of Daityas. He was living with demonic people. He was associating with them. Of course, he was completely unaffected and affected them with pure devotional service. But this is how he sees himself. It says, I was living with Daityas. So yeah. Okay, on that, was there something else you just said there on that? Okay.
No.
Anupama, you'd like to take us to, what's the time? We've got 7 minutes. You can continue. Text 31.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
he will continue condemning himself. So okay, continue on.
Yeah, text 31. So how can any pure devotion appear in me that would signify the Lord's mercy? I see proof of my lack of devotion when I ponder the wickedness of Banasura. Commentary. Pure devotional service is free from predominance by karma and jnana. The author Vopadeva has explained pure devotion in his book, Mukta Pahalam, by citing the words of Lord Kapila. Pure devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is causeless and uninterrupted. Prahlāda is intensely aware of the meaning of pure devotion, as shown by his mindfulness of the bad character of his great-grandson, Banasura. Bana rejected the worship of his family's traditional deity, Shiva Vishnu, and instead took shelter of Lord Shiva. He also abused Krishna's grandson, Aniruddha, by arresting him. Prahlāda argues, how can anyone with such a wicked person in his family possess pure devotion for the Lord? By this, Prahlāda means to refute Lord Shiva's argument that Krishna sparing Bana was a sign that Prahlāda had received Shri Krishna's mercy. In fact, Prahlāda thinks killing Bana would have been better than sparing him. Text 32. I've heard some say that now after arresting and imprisoning Bali, the Lord stays here in Sutala as the doorman just to keep him captive. In any case, I cannot say where the Lord is now. Commentary. Narada met Prahlāda on the planet Sutala, the domain of Bali Maharaj. As mentioned before, Prahlāda was staying there for some time on the invitation of Lord Vamana. Prahlāda had heard from reputable sages that Shri Vamana stays at Bali's gate just to keep Bali from escaping Sutala Loka. This opinion is expressed to Banasura by his friend Kusmanda in Shri Hari Vamsa. There, Kusmanda depicts Bali as the prisoner in Sutala. My dear king, your father Bali has been defeated by the strength of Vishnu and is now in captivity. But in future, he will be able to escape through the vast ocean and somewhere obtain a kingdom. Bali's residence in Sutala is further described as imprisonment in the section of the Uttarakhand of Valmiki's Ramayana that narrates Ravana's conquers in the region of Patala. By this argument, Prahlāda counters Narada's words in text 13. O best of Vaishnavas, why should I say that Lord Mukunda has been conquered only by you? Your grandson Bali, chief of the Daityas, has also conquered him. Narada might respond by pointing that Prahlāda has the opportunity to see Lord Vishnu in Sutala Lok, where he wants, wherever even Shiva, Brahma and the other great demigods can rarely see him. Prahlāda here anticipates and defeats this idea by saying, it would be evidence of the Lord's mercy on me if I could see him always, but at the moment I do not even know where he is. And if I do not know, how can I freely invite have his audience? Sometimes he shows himself here, but not continuously.
Just thinking here that this is where criticism is allowed. We can criticize ourselves. We can't criticize others. So Prahlāda is criticizing himself. You know, and for me, hearing this, sometimes I'm thinking a bit, wow, I hope I don't be convinced by Prahlāda that he's not a great devotee. You understand? So we can criticize. So criticism is bona fide if criticizing ourselves. That's what Prahlāda is doing. Yeah, we shouldn't criticize other Vaishnavas, but criticize ourselves we can.
Okay.
Not to the point that we completely bury ourselves in complete depression. that's not that's the mode of ignorance.
Yeah.
Then we can reflect, oh no, actually devotee say this about me, devotee say that about me, but actually they don't know what's going on within my heart. They don't know this, they don't know that. I am that. So it's actually it is healthy for spiritual life to be self-introspective like that, but not like in a material way where it leads to depression and leads to depression. No, but an honest reflection on ourselves. This is what Prahlāda is, another lesson that Prahlāda is showing us, We shouldn't, I was just thinking of that. You can continue, Marv, unless there's any comments on that or reflections.
Okay. Text 33. 33. On rare occasions, some persons like Ravan can see the Lord here. The Lord shows himself only when it suits his own purpose. He then showed himself in this very place to Durvasa because Durvasa had strong faith in being able to see the Lord. Commentary. While invading the region of Patala, Ravan came to the entrance of Bali Maharaj's capital, but Lord Vamana, standing at the gate with club in hand, refused to let Ravan enter and neglectfully kicked him far away. Prahlāda argues that this is not proof of Sri Vamana's constant presence at Bali's door. The Lord appeared there on this one occasion for the special purpose of protecting Bali from being conquered by Ravan. On another occasion, Durvasa was living at Kushatali, the site of the future city of Dwarka, was troubled by the demon Kusha and his cohorts, Kushaltali's ancient guardians. Durvasa went to Sutala to ask Lord Vamana for help. As related in 4.18, it was Narad who had advised Durvasa to go to Lord Vamana in Sutala and assured Durvasa he would indeed find Lord Vamana there. Because Durvasa had trusted Narada's words, Lord Vamana upheld their truth by allowing Durvasa his darshan. Shall I go to text 34?
Yeah, okay. 2 minutes left. 1 minute left. Let's make the most of 1 minute.
Whenever one develops an intense desire to achieve the Supreme Lord, there one can obtain him. But the Lord's merely residing in a certain place does not grant him his association. Commentary. The personality of Godhead does not give himself away to those whose desires are not absolutely pure. Only perfect love can induce him to reveal himself. If the Lord's presence in a place were a sufficient cause for realizing him, then even living beings throughout the universe should already have attained him, since in this form of Sri Vasudeva, the super soul, he is all-pervading. Pure devotees are convinced that the Lord is permanently present in his eternal abode that have appeared on earth. The conviction, however, is born of the devotee's fervent eagerness to realize their personal relationship with the Lord. Without that strong desire, one will not have much faith in his presence. It is true that in Sri Vrindavan and some other abodes of the Supreme Lord, even devotees with immature faith are sometimes granted a vision of the Lord and his pastimes. But we should understand that this occurs only by the special potency of these places, which are exceptionally dear to the personality of Godhead. Nowadays, the Lord does not reveal himself as easily in every holy place where he appeared in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just go forward of verses. I'm eager to see Prahlāda stop sacrificing himself. Let me just go on here. And so yeah, now he's going to direct to into Hanuman. Anyway, so thank you everyone for joining us. We have 10 devotees with us today who have been hearing this. So I hope you appreciated it. Nice to hear about one sense. We're hearing about the glories of Prahlāda. Then we're hearing about Prahlāda who's diffusing those glories. So interesting. So thank you everyone. And
thank you very much.
Thanks, Thursday. So have a wonderful weekend. I'm sure there's different events going on, different sanghas going on. So wonderful. And look forward to next week's Krishna Talk beginning on Monday. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Murli Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Great Murli Prabhu ki. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.